Hey, what's up? Hello, everybody. Welcome to In the Room, a wrestling podcast from the Des Moines Register. I'm Cody Goodwin, the Register's wrestling writer, and I'm glad you're here, whether you're listening wherever you get your podcast shows or if you're watching on YouTube again. We appreciate you tuning in. Cyhawk Week here in the state of Iowa. Iowa and Iowa State wrestle on Sunday, 1:30 p.m., Carver Hawkeye Arena in Iowa City. You can catch it on Big Ten Network, the main Big Ten Network, if you don't have tickets. To talk about that duel and a handful of other topics, brought on Carter Happel, former Lisbon wrestler, former Iowa wrestler, current assistant wrestling coach at Cornell College. Carter, what's up, my man?
Hey, how's it going?
Another day in paradise. Going to touch on a few different topics today. Wanted to ask you about your new gig at Cornell College, new-ish, I guess, second year. Wanted to ask you, obviously, about Cael, younger brother. You and I had a pretty big win. Obviously, you want to pick your brain about the Hawks. Kobe Seabrecht, the way they've been wrestling the last few weeks, get your take on the upcoming Cyhawk duel. But first, Carter, I got to ask, what in the world is up with your Green Bay Packers?
Oh, I knew this was coming. I don't know. I wish I had the answers, but it's been rough.
Is it just like Aaron Rodgers is getting old? Are they missing, are they missing Devontae Adams that much? What's up? What's going on?
Yeah, I think probably a little of both, but I think mostly is Devontae Adams. He's not there anymore. Doesn't have his go-to guy, and he's known for not trusting those young receivers very, very quickly. So I think he's just kind of having a hard time putting his trust in those guys to make the catches that he knows that Devontae used to make for him. So, yeah.
It's kind of crazy how, one receiver, I guess if we're going to start on an NFL tangent, one receiver makes that big of a difference because you look at Devontae leaving Green Bay and their offense is in shambles week to week. Tyreek going to Miami and now all of a sudden they're a track meet team that puts up 40 a game.
Right.
It's so, I don't know, it's weird. I figured, hey, Devontae's this all pro receiver, but I didn't think him leaving would collapse Green Bay like that. It's just, I don't know. I thought Aaron Rodgers was that good, but it could also be, father time. He's getting pretty old, right?
I think he's pretty good. I'll put him up there with the top, but I think he's just struggling this year. But yeah, when I thought the Raiders were going to be pretty good this year when they got Devontae and they had a pretty good offense, but they're struggling too. So I don't know.
Yeah, they finally won this weekend, and it was Josh Jacobs. It wasn't, Devontae had a decent game, but he's nuts.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm sitting over here in La La Land because the Chiefs are 9-2. So,
yeah.
But do what?
You got it easy.
You guys had it easy for years. I guess you still do. I guess if he comes back healthy, I feel like Rodgers could probably play into his mid-40s the way he plays.
Yeah, I don't know. After this season, he might just hang it up. I don't know.
That's great. So then what did you think of the limited play of Jordan Love the other night then? Because they played on Sunday Night Football?
To be honest, I didn't even watch the rest of the when Rodgers went out and then they gave up a touchdown. I was like, I just laid in bed and put on a show with my girlfriend, and then we stopped watching the game. And then I just kind of watched the highlights the next day. But from what I saw, I thought he looked pretty good, better than he did last year.
I watched that game start to finish because one, I'm a sicko, and two, heavy fantasy interest because I won the Christian Watson waiver sweepstakes in my league.
Nice.
So shout out to those 21 points helping.
Yeah, that helps. That helps a lot.
Absolutely. So while you continue to ponder what's going on with the Packers, we're a month into wrestling season. It's not fully taken off, right? We're kind of, waddling our way through some early season duels and whatnot. But I wanted to ask you about your gig at Cornell College now, assistant coach, second season. What's the coaching life been like, man? How has that gig been? How's that job been? You jumped right in there after you got done competing, right?
Yeah, I started with McDonough at his club, right before I even graduated. Was after my senior season, and then that's how I got hooked up with Cornell through McDonough. And then it's just me and McDonough kind of just flip-flopped roles because he got a new gig with Stryker. So we switched. He still comes in, helps out. like once or twice a week whenever he can, and then he's there for club 3 nights a week because he runs his club out of Cornell too. So yeah, I love it. It's been good. I like being close to Lisbon, my family. I've known Cornell forever just because I grew up right next door. So I knew Coach Durrell pretty well when he was there.
What's been the hardest part about going from competing to coaching?
Man, it's kind of a hard question. um, I don't know. I think I was ready to start coaching. Like I knew I wanted to coach eventually. I remember when I was setting up all my stuff to go to Iowa, like my admissions and all that stuff. I texted Morningstar, and I'll never forget it. I texted him and said, "Hey, I want to go into coaching. Like, what major should I go into?" Because like I was going to wrestle. I wasn't. Yeah. So I picked a major, and I was sports studies, and then I just knew I wanted to coach someday. So then I was just ready to start doing it. I liked helping out at the club, and then I kind of knew I didn't really want to do high school. I wanted to do a little bit of higher level just because that's what I was around for the last 10 years of my life. So it's good though. I like it. I like being able to give what I know back to guys that want to get better.
Yeah, I've always been, whenever I get found out in this writing career and this journalism career comes crashing and burning, part of me wants to go back and teach. And similar to you, like, I mean, maybe not similar to you, but like, I've kind of like, I'd like to go back and teach at the college level. At first I wanted to do high school, and then my mom, who's a teacher, was like, no, like you need to go to college, because like same idea, like people will be there because they want to be there, right? Like they'll take your class because they want to be there. They're going to wrestle at Cornell College because they want to be there, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I imagine that's probably been a pretty fun experience for you, the first year and some change, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. And it's like being involved in like the recruiting and stuff has been super cool to be a part of, and like reaching out to a kid for the first time and then talking to them and going through the whole process, and then they commit and then they come here, and I jumped right into it last year because I started like right at the beginning of the season, like November 1st or whatever it was. So then I was doing practices. We were doing all the behind the scenes stuff, the logistics stuff, and then recruiting as well, going to meets and high school stuff and talking to kids, bringing them to campus, all that stuff. And then, so I kind of just got thrown into it and had to learn on the fly. So this year it's been a lot easier. I got to do it all summer and into the fall. And then we got a lot of stuff. We could get a lot of stuff done before season really started. As it to last year, we kind of just had to do it all together because we were way behind because of the coaching switch and stuff. But yeah, it's been good. It's super fun to be able to bring a kid. He wants to come to the school because you're the coach, or that they believe in a lot of stuff that you believe in and stuff like that.
When you're cold calling a recruit, or you're cold texting a recruit, what's your go-to opening line? Like what's
It's kind of this. Well, it's kind of easy for Cornell because it's got a pretty high academic standard, and you can't like not everyone can get in. So like the first thing I'll ask a kid is, hey, do you want to wrestle in college? If the answer is no, then it's like, all right, good luck with whatever you want to do. If the answer is yes, the second question and third question is like, do you know what you want to study and what's your GPA? Because they have to have a certain GPA to even get into Cornell. So if they have the GPA that I'm looking for, then I can kind of dive deeper into what do they want to study. And if they don't know, then that's fine. You just keep on going. And then we have like a recruiting questionnaire that I always send them. They fill it out, and then that gives us a lot of better information and stuff just about like, you know, their coach, high school coach, their background, their record, all that stuff. It's got it all on there. So
Is that like that extra hurdle, the academic part of it? Because I know that schools like, Stanford and Northwestern, like that, they have similar academic standards, right? So that like limits their pool a little bit. Do you guys face that from time to time at Cornell College?
yeah, I mean, I see it all the time. I don't even recruit kids if they tell me their GPA is lower than what I know that we can probably get in. So it
That's
right
tough.
there, not that it cuts like that much kids out of it, but there are not a majority, but there's a percentage of kids we can't recruit because it's just not worth it because they won't get into
Yeah.
the school. So yeah, it sucks, but at the same day, it's like, hey, if you want to be a top tier athlete, you might as well be a top tier student at the same time, which is something I kind of wish I had, because I didn't go to college for the schooling portion. I went to wrestle, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, that probably like that honesty, right? Like probably helps you relate with the kids that,
Yeah.
hey, like I've got the grades, I want to wrestle. Like, you can kind of level with them on a way that maybe some other coaches can't or maybe choose not to.
Yeah. Yeah. And Cornell has like the block plan. So they do one class at a time. So
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, it's like some kids like it. Some kids like, I don't know what that is. I don't really want to dabble in that or whatever. But I think just like from experience, like you said, I have experience and I wasn't really the school guy. I was more, I want to wrestle. But if I did have something like that, I feel like I would have been a pretty good student just because it's something that holds you accountable because they have one class for 18 days, 18 school days. So 3 weeks. And then the fourth week is like Monday through Wednesday. And the Wednesday they have finals week, their final. And it's only one class, so one final. And then it's the same amount of classes because they take four blocks in a semester. So that's four classes in a semester, which is the same I did at Iowa. So it's just a different way to break it down, which I think only like 3 schools in the country even do it. And we're the only one that has wrestling. So
that's really unique. But at the same time, it's also like, oh yeah, like you focus on one class for like 3 to 4 weeks, like
yeah,
pound it out and then move to
it
the
seems
next.
pretty cool. I wish I could have experienced it, but it's pretty nice because they don't have like night class or weekends or anything like that. It's like 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the time that professors can hold class. So we have practice at 3:30 every day. So no one ever misses practice or misses class.
Righteous. When
Yeah.
you're
Cool.
so you get kids into the room and your what kind of how would you describe your coaching style?
I don't know. I'm pretty laid back. Like I like to have fun, like play around. Like we play spike ball before practice. Like with club practice, we'll be playing like football and stuff, like ultimate football. But then like when it's time to get ready and go, I just like I have like a switch that you just all right, time to go. And I think that's just been ingrained in me from my coaches, like Coach Smith. Like we would play wiffle ball with a foam roller and a dodgeball, like baseball. But then when Coach Smith said time to go, it's like, all right, time to go. Fun's over. So I think I'm like that, like a mix between like high school Brad Smith and like kind of the Iowa style where it's like, that's what I know. So I can get intense when need be, but I'm not like Tom and Terry. By yeah.
What's the I mean you kind of hit on it there, the experience of different types of coaches that you've had, right? Brad Smith, your dad's obviously a huge coaching influence, and then Tom Terry, Morningstar. What was some of the biggest lessons that you took from some of those guys that you're now using in your coaching career?
I think just like like my dad and like Coach Smith, they're pretty similar, obviously because my dad was coached by Coach Smith too. So, they're just like pretty fundamental. Like fundamentals wins big matches, which is a lot of the stuff that the brands teach too. Like you win big matches by doing fundamentals, and the same with like McDonough. Like he says it in club all the time. Fundamentals wins big matches. So there's a trend there, but I think it's because we were kind of all coached by the same guy. If you really think about it, everyone was kind of coached by Gable because that's how the brands were coached. My dad was coached Brad Smith was coached. So, but yeah, it's just there's differences because, like Brad's coach in high school, which he developed some pretty good wrestlers, but then you got like Tom and Terry who have won at the absolute highest level. So, there's just a little bit of different level when it comes to like technique and just positional stuff. And Tom and Terry they know a lot about the sport of wrestling. So it was fun. It was a really good experience at Iowa, just like learning from them and you get guys from all over the country. So everyone has different styles, but then they kind of mold your style to what they know. And that's why a lot of guys have success at Iowa.
100%.
Yeah.
What was the biggest, where do you feel like you grew the most as a coach over your first year? Like what was like one hurdle that you cleared, or what was like a lesson that you had to learn early on? Like, I'm really curious, like, people make a lot of deal about when you get to college, that first year, like a lot of growth takes place in that first year just because you're learning so much. Is it similar as a coach, or what was that first year like for you?
I think the biggest thing was like when I'm like actually in practice and like showing stuff, like breaking down the move and like actually explaining it. Cause like I know what I'm doing, like when I'm showing the move, but then like taking the time and like breaking it down and like showing them like piece by piece, like that part a little bit. Cause I feel I still learn like in like club practice with McDonough or when he's in Cornell practice, like he's breaking down a move, like I'm obtaining all that information too. So that helps me a lot. Just like breaking down a move and stuff. And I didn't know you'd get so like winded when you're talking and showing a move. It's great. Like, oh, I'm gassed. What the heck just happened? I showed a move for 4 minutes and now I'm breathing heavy.
Because like the energy is getting dispelled in different areas.
Yeah, you're talking and you're showing a move, and then all of a sudden you're like 4 minutes in, and you've been talking for 4 minutes and also moving your body actively. And you're like, what just happened?
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, that part's been. I've definitely gotten better, but I remember like my first like last year at this time, I was like, didn't really know how to go about it because I did camps and stuff before, but like I wasn't doing that every day. So now that I've been doing it however many days for the last year, it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. Well, and there's some wrestlers that, really, really good wrestlers, like they know how to hit the moves.
Right.
And when comes time to coach or try to explain how to do it, like some people just don't have that ability to like transfer the information or explain how to do things.
I think you did. Yeah. Like what you just said exactly is kind of like, I know how to hit the move, but then like going to break it down, it's a little tougher. But I feel like I can do a lot better when I'm like actually drilling. Like I was drilling with one of our freshmen yesterday, and like I helped him in that practice a lot more than I would have if I was watching, because I can feel him hit it on me. So I feel like if I'm actually drilling with the guy and he's hitting the move on me and I feel like his pressure is in the right spot or not, then it's a lot easier to work with the guy.
100%.
Yeah.
Last question about Cornell College. What's the vibe like out of the room this year? How you guys feeling about this season? I know we're about a month in for you guys, but how you feeling so far?
It's good so far. We've had 4 competitions, 3 duels and 2 tournaments. But one was like a tri-duel. So, yeah, pretty good. We 3-0 in duels, and then we wrestled at Luther. We had some pretty good showings with some of our freshmen. A couple of third places or third, fourth, fifth. I think we had like 6 place winners with freshmen. So, we had a champ too, which was pretty good. And then we went up to a Claire last week, and we didn't go there last year, but we wanted to add it this year because I don't see them very often, and they're a pretty good team. They're top 10, top 15 every year, or at least the past couple of years, and we kind of got stomped by them. But yeah, I feel like, I think Coach Ham was talking about it the other day. We just took a back seat to him, and we just needed to wrestle a little better, a little smarter. But it's nice to know where we're at right now with like a top team like that. And our team's pretty young. Like we have 2 seniors in the lineup right now, or 3 seniors in the lineup right now. And then we have 2 seniors that are 5th-year seniors coming back for second semester. But one of them's at the same weight as the other senior. So we'll probably have 4 seniors in the lineup by the end of the year. Rough guess, but then our other guys are 1 junior and then the rest are sophomores and freshmen. So
that's encouraging.
Yeah,
especially if they're like showing you good things already.
Yeah, we have a solid sophomore class that a lot of them got a lot of starting time last year, so they have some good experience. And then one of them's been, he was in and out of the rankings last year as a freshman, and he wasn't even our starter because he was just beating a bunch of guys that were in there. And then he's in there right now. He's one of our better kids. And then we brought in a pretty good freshman class that has some potential. So they've already,
call it the Carter Happel effect.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but they've already got some good wins under their belt. So
okay, so I'm actually, this is a weird tangential recruiting question, kind of like 4-time state champs are like superstars in the state of Iowa. Does your do you run into kids who are still like, oh my God, you're Carter Happel? Like, do you run into moments like that, or are you old and washed now?
I think I'm old and washed. Like,
I don't know what the
are you
shelf
talking about
life
like
of being a four-timer is.
like Iowa kids or?
Yeah, like in-state kids.
No, I don't. I haven't really had any of that. I think they're just old enough to be like not geeky about it.
Okay.
You know?
Did you run into that when you were at Iowa or something?
No.
Because there's been like, I guess there's been so many of them, but I'm always curious, like, like it's easy for me to sit back and be like, yeah, like wrestlers are superstars, but like, what does it actually feel like,
I don't know. It washed away pretty quickly because when you get to Iowa, it's like everyone's a superstar. So
yeah, at that point, yeah.
So yeah, it's like everyone's just as good as you are. But no, I think the kids, like the Iowa kids, most of them have a pretty good sense of knowledge about like history of the wrestling. Like they probably know a lot of people that have won 4 state titles, but I don't think they're like gonna gawk over if they see someone when they meet them. I don't know. I have never experienced it. Maybe when I was like younger, like when I was just out of high school, but lately, no.
Well, there's been so many of them since you did it, so
there actually has been.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? I was asking coaches about that last year because we could have had 3, and Robbie ended up losing, but Carter Fausick and Marcel Lopez end up doing it, so you still had 2, which is still kind of a rare feat. But like, I don't know, like what does it mean still, like, to win 4 state titles? Like, obviously a big deal, but we've seen so many that I'm curious about the accomplishment, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many has there been now.
31, because Ben Keeter could be 32 this year.
So that means, let's see. Let me do some math here quick. When did Corey Clark graduate? 2012.
Yeah.
So in 10 years, there's been 10.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
that seems crazy, at least.
That's a lot compared to the 2022 before Corey Clark. There was how many years is that? Like 50 some, 60 some. There's only 20. 10 years. There's been 10 or 8, but 9 or 10 or 8. One of those 3.
Yeah. Like those numbers fascinate me, and I don't know exactly what they mean, but I'm just like I asked coaches all year last year, and I never really got anything out of it. But I was just kind of like, interesting.
I have an answer for it.
Well, let's hear it.
I think some wrestlers are a lot better nowadays.
I agree. So a lot of coaches did say that just like across the board, and we see that at like Fargo, and they've won back-to-back junior duels, freestyle titles, and they even won Greco this past year.
Yeah.
The rise of the club scene.
Right.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. But I don't know. Like I feel like the high frequency is it's bizarre.
I would take a state champ from 2022 against a state champ from 1982. It don't matter who it is.
Yeah, I agree, because the sport has advanced so much too.
Yeah, it's grown so much in those 40 years. It's like kids are a lot better now.
Yeah. There's so much more access to like
clubs and
clubs and like they can pull up technique on their phone, and just the way that they can be students of the sport, like just totally different from even 10 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
That's nutty. You're a student of the sport. You watch a lot of wrestling. Wanted to ask you about Cael. 4-0 start for you and I this year. Really big win over Clay Carlson out at Daktronics. He looks good so far. Small sample size. I think they go to Vegas this weekend.
They do. Yeah, they do.
What have you? I mean, 4 matches in. Like, what's your assessment of the way Carter Happel has been wrestling?
Well, I've only watched one of his matches, but pretty good. Pretty good. I mean, he pinned those Frost twins, and they're pretty solid. So I didn't really expect him to pin him, but so that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And then he beat Carlson, who he got beat by like 7 or 8 points last year.
Yeah.
So, and that's the match I did watch. We actually all watched it on Thanksgiving night. I think we're all at my house because I didn't watch it when it happened because Daktronics you had to like pay for their stream or whatever. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some funky thing, but we all watched it on YouTube at Thanksgiving, I think, that night. at my parents' house. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, he looks good. This week will be a bit of a test though, so we'll see.
Yeah, he's in. So this is his third season, right? Because I mean, I guess he went as a true freshman, but that was the COVID year.
Right. I don't know his eligibility, to be honest.
I
I've
don't
talked
know. I
about
don't know anybody's
eligibility
eligibility off the
before.
top of my head
Yeah,
anymore.
can't even. Yeah, yeah. So I just know mine's gone. So, um, but Cael, I think he has 3 years, including this year. But
That sounds about right.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure because I just don't remember when, like, if his COVID year counted because he wasn't actually in college when the COVID nationals got canceled.
Yeah, but I
So
thought that first year was that would have technically been his true
I think,
freshman year, right?
hey, then didn't all those guys get the year too?
Yeah, that's a total freebie year.
So
So
then,
like it
yeah,
was,
yeah, it's 3 years, including this year.
yeah.
So it's
So that
two more
makes sense.
after, or yeah, 2 more after this year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he.
Me and my mom were actually talking. Was it today or yeah, this morning? We were talking about Cael like last year and this year, and like last year he was first alternate at nationals.
Yeah, he told us that story. Well, I guess Doug told us that story at Northern Iowa's media day that he was there. He kept his weight under control. And I think he had like about a minute or so
Yeah,
before
the
he.
real was late to weigh-ins or whatever.
So that's who it was. Okay, Doug didn't
Pretty sure,
reveal names.
pretty sure it was real. I think that's what he told. I think he said it was real, but I could be wrong.
That's
But
interesting.
don't quote me on that one. But quote Cael because I think that's what he said.
That's but oh so yeah, but like so I mean he's almost literally like a few minutes from being in the national tournament, and he's talked about how much that's motivated him. Where have you seen him in terms of just improvement, and where is he better now this year compared to maybe last year? Just small sample size that you've seen, I guess.
From what I've like talked with him or at least heard from him say and like seen him wrestle, I think he's just more loose and like just kind of going out there, not like focusing on, hey, I'm gonna get my inside tie, I'm gonna hit a single leg, like just going out and feeling guys and just going for offense and stuff like that. He said something like, I don't have a game plan, I'm just going out there and wrestling. So I feel like he's more just kind of going out there and wrestling, just going to wrestle a match and trying to put points on the board and getting his hand raised, not necessarily game planning. And I think maybe he did a little bit of that last year from what it sounds like. But yeah, he looks good so far.
What do you anticipate to see from him out in Vegas? Like that's routinely a pretty tough tournament, and 41, based on what I've seen, like pretty open weight. Like there's, I guess anybody from like, in the top 25 could probably do any sorts of damage when we get to March. And I know we're a ways away from that, but like that makes the rest of the regular season a lot of fun because it could be chaotic.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and my mom, we were talking about like all the guys that would be at his weight this weekend. And it sounds like it's a pretty stacked bracket. But like you said, like people have been beating, like everyone's been beating each other, especially at even the weight above 49. Everyone's beating everyone there. So yeah, I think it'll be a good challenge for him, and he can really put his foot in the door there at that weight and make a name for himself.
Yeah. How do you balance obviously you're coaching and you got to pay attention to your athletes, but you've also got your brother over here and you want to watch and support what he's doing. Like, what's time management like for Carter Happel?
Yeah, when was Daktronics? Sunday?
It was like 2 weeks ago
I
because the
don't
Cyclone Open was this past
watching
weekend.
on my phone, so I must not have been doing much. But yeah, I was watching like the stick figures on my phone. But yeah, he hasn't. I think I don't remember what was his first match. Did they have a duel?
They haven't had it. They don't duel at all until January.
Were all his 4 matches at Daktronics then?
Yeah.
So then, yeah, that's how much I know. But I do remember last year we were at a tournament. It's Central. It was like a last chance, for any guys that weren't wrestling at regionals to go wrestle. And I had that was when they were wrestling Iowa State. He was wrestling Ian Parker, and I had him pulled up on my phone while I was sitting in the corner coaching, and I had him on the ground. So I was kind of doing both because I knew it was a big match and I wanted to watch it. And then I probably got pissed at the ref or something because I had to shut my phone off and I was like at the head table, or not the head table, but like the mat side table. And then I opened my phone back up after the match and saw he lost after he was winning. So I was like, oh no, wonder what happened. I had no idea what happened. So yeah.
That's a funny picture of you coaching your guy and also watching
Watched
Cael
it.
at the same time.
I was definitely doing two things at once, trying to balance them, but I don't think it would have looked good if I was sitting on my phone while I was trying to coach the match. So I put my phone away when the match was like started. So, and then I didn't get to see the ending.
That's funny. Last question on Cael. Growing up, when did you realize, yeah, like he's going to be pretty good at this wrestling thing? Like when did you think that like he could go on and do what he has done and is, going to continue to do?
I remember he struggled pretty well. I think he like through like 6th grade, he was kind of up and down. But I mean, who's not at that age? But
Right.
8th grade year, I was a senior. I had to go to the AU state tournament because I was doing like the award stuff. But Cael was wrestling and Quincy was wrestling. And I was trying to coach both of them. So, but Cael's like, I don't think I saw him wrestle that much that year because for some reason at state, I was just like, my eyes like open. I was like, this kid's just demolishing everyone. He was like teched in the semis and in the finals at state his 8th grade year. So that tournament was kind of an eye opener for me because I don't know if he had won AAU state before that year. So yeah, that was a big tournament for him. And I remember Quincy wrestled Ryder Block that day too and got smoked. It's one match that I remember from that day too.
Quincy's catching strays.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Wanted to pick your brain about Iowa too. Hawkeyes, big duel this coming weekend, and we'll touch on the Cyhawk here in just a moment. But how do you feel about the Hawkeyes so far? Like you've been in that room, you know that program, you know that staff, you know a lot of those guys. 5-0. I feel like with Iowa fans, they only feel as good as the last performance allows them to feel.
Right.
Which is to say, after the Penn duel, which they won, but it was probably like how we survived that. At least that's, I don't know. I get a lot of my pulse from Twitter, which is probably not the best way to like check on these things. But they were kind of nervous, right? And there was a point in that duel where it's like, Penn could make this really weird and interesting. And then, Max won and then Kobe won. But, how do you feel about the Hawks so far this year?
I feel good. I've liked what I've seen. I mean, it's November, so you're not gonna. I mean, even if like Warner, that match he had against Penn, like it's beginning of the season. Like if he wrestles that match again in February, he probably majors tech falls that kid. Like, and I talked to him after the match actually, and he was just once he got tilted, he was like kind of flustered, and he was like didn't really know, he just was like out of it, but he finds a way to win. So just like Iowa, like we just find a way to win duels even with 2nd string, 3rd string, 4th string, whoever they got. It's like the depth that they've had historically is just allows them to win dual meets. And even when I was there, like I went in a lot of times in dual meets that we won pretty handily just because we have good depth, and the guys that they put in are just as good as the other guy as the starters in some weights. So yeah, I think they've looked good so far though.
Yeah. What would be your, because they haven't trotted, I think the phrase I keep using is they haven't trotted out the full A team yet. Like they've gotten, they have the bulk of who I presume to be the starting lineup, and they added Nelson this past weekend at 74.
Yeah.
We got to talk to Tom earlier today. We're recording this on a Tuesday. Real Woods is officially on the probables. Remains to be seen if we'll see him on Sunday. But yeah, I would say like 5-0 over, a couple of quality teams, a few maybe lesser teams, to put it nicely. Like, you know, like they've just kind of charged forward with what they've got. And like you said, it's November. Like it's not, you know, if we're seeing the best Iowa team in November, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but like, you know, credit to some of these other younger guys who probably aren't going to get a ton of shine once they get into Big Ten play, right? That, you know, they've been able to take care of business. At least, I don't know. Like that's, you know, it's a long season. I'm with you. It's November.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're still wrestling in dual meets that are in Carver that they're winning. Like I got my butt kicked in Carver in dual meets that we won. And it was still fun because we won a dual meet that was like Penn State. Like I did not wrestle a good match and I got my butt kicked, but it was one of the best duels I've ever been a part of. And I got to wrestle in it. So it was a fun experience either way, win or loss. The team, it's still a team. The team just, I don't know. It's hard to explain when you're on the bench. And I remember after that dual meet, I was talking to my mom and I was like, hey, yeah, I wrestled bad, but I got to wrestle in one of the best dual meets ever in the history of college wrestling. And that's a good experience in itself. And we won the duel. So,
in thrilling fashion, if I remember right.
Thrilling fashion. Yeah.
Like
I mean, Kat Kemmer beat Mark Hall, and then Cassiope had to win at the last match to win the duel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I remember him picking Neville's leg up and like
crazy.
Neville's was defending it well, and then Cass still found a way to close it down and score.
He like turned the wrong way into a wizard too, and he just like horsed him over. It was crazy.
Yeah, and like the crowd, like
before Cassiope got ripped too.
And the roof like came off a Carver because I don't know. Like
it's one of the loudest I've ever heard it.
Yeah, like not only that, but like I mean, obviously the Kemmer Hall result like that played into it. But yeah, 5-0. You know, best wins thus far over Army and Penn, I would argue.
Who aren't terribly bad opponents.
No, Penn, like the way that the lineups kind of unfolded, like Penn could have won that duel.
Oh yeah.
And huge credit to, you know, Max and you know, Kobe Siebrecht, you know, for taking care of business and you know, 15-point margin of victory. Like that looks pretty good over a Penn team that's probably going to be pretty dangerous come March, right?
Yeah. I think they obviously strategically wanted to start at 65 probably because their better kids are at their lower weights, and if they can just weather the storm for the first 5 weights, then maybe they can get a couple gutsy wins at the lower weights, and that's what they were doing. And then, you know, Max won in a match, just typical classic Max Murin that he wins all the time. So, and then Kobe did Kobe things. So that's kind of put a stamp on the end of the duel.
You're from Lisbon. Kobe Siebrecht is from Lisbon.
Yep.
He's 4-0 with 4 bonus point wins this year.
Yeah.
You know, he pinned Artelona. Had a pretty big win over the Army guy, Nathan Lucas. Are you surprised by how good he's been in the early going of this season?
No, just because I've wrestled with Kobe a lot, and like when we were at Iowa together, because we were there together for 2 years, and like his sophomore year, his second year, he was like, me and him would go back and forth, and that didn't happen before. And I was like, he's getting a lot better. And then what I saw last year from him, and like even in like the freestyle scene, like when we were out at Omaha or Lincoln for U23s and U20s, he placed like 4th and beat like some studs.
Dude, he won like 8 straight matches to take 4th too.
Yeah, he was beating studs too. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. Kobe's just a gamer. He just goes and wrestles, and he does not care. And he'll just go out and let it fly. And I mean, that's what we saw on Sunday, but
I feel like
Saturday. But yeah, like he's always in the match. It doesn't matter what the score is because he can do things that and it's so hard to score on him because he's just funking. But it's not really funk. It's like
it's calculated, right?
Yeah, it's calculated because that's just how he wrestles. He just gets out of positions because he just knows how to do it with like his body and how he wrestles. It's crazy to even like when I would wrestle him is like I got a guy, he's dead to rights, I'm taking him down, and all of a sudden he's like on my ankle and like lifting me up in the air, and then I have to start scrambling. So that's just what he gives. That's just what he brings to the table.
I remember because I guess I've been covering wrestling long enough where I covered the end of like his high school career.
Yeah.
And people forget like he's a 3-time state finalist. Like he was pretty good. But he seems a lot more, or at least like the way that I've kind of seen him grow. Correct me if I'm wrong. He's smarter. Not that he was a dumb wrestler, but like, he would have like high highs and he would have just some like weird lows, right? Like he beat Wyatt Henson his senior year. And like, that was a really big deal at the time. Like he majored him, like excellent match at like the Independence tournament, Cliff King.
Yeah.
And then he like basically bonused his way to a state title his senior year. But then like the day before the state tournament, he got pinned by a freshman that went 0-2. Like it just like really weird, like, okay, like there's some volatility here. I feel like the volatility is not there anymore. Like he doesn't have those weird lows anymore.
Yeah.
But he still has the freakishly high highs. Like, and that's what time obviously in the Iowa room can do. Like it can iron out a little bit of those weird things. And now we're seeing the results because like on top of just ironing out the weird stuff, he's a lot more confident now. He's a lot more tactical. The calculated risks, right? I mean, I'm not one for leg passers, but it works for him. And like the dude's a pinner, like the guy's going to score points. Like 2 of his bonus point wins this year are pins. And one of them was over Anthony Artolona, who you could argue is like equally as volatile and as dangerous of a wrestler. Like we saw the headlock, but Kobe was just like, yep, I'm going to roll you through. Not right now, but I will. And then he scored the pin. Like, it's like, it just really impressed with just the way that he's just progressed, I guess. So, from the time I saw him at the end of his Lisbon career to, pinning the 12th best kid in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the high highs and low lows is just a Seabreak thing though. Yeah. But because I remember senior year, Kobe was a freshman or sophomore. No, freshman, because he didn't make the state. My senior year, he was a freshman. He didn't make the state, but he pinned Jameis Wilson in dual meet at state dual finals, who got like 4th at state. But then Cooper, his older brother, lost to Albert kid, who he'd beat all year, and then the next day he had him first round at state tournament and beat him. So it was like, how are you? It's just like
very volatile wrestling family,
losing to guys you've never lost to, and then like Cade last year, he had like 8 or 9 losses going into the state tournament to guys that he should no business losing to. Some of them, but they just like when time comes, the lights are on. That's Cade for you. Cade, he had that extra clutch gene. I think
he won 2 overtime matches in the last 2 matches at the state tournament. Like pretty good.
Yeah. But Kobe wrestled Alex Thompson in the finals.
He wrestled, dude. So he beat Nick Hamilton, who's really good. But his 2 losses were to Adam Allard, who won 3,
and Alex Thompson.
Like the kid was pretty good. Like people forget that.
Pretty good. And then, pretty good. Yeah.
Now he's up at 157. Looks like, barring something crazy, he's going to be the guy for Iowa at 157 this year.
I hope so.
He's been impressive so far, and when it comes to these lineup battle things, you might know better than me, but just from my perspective, I guess, just however many lineup battles I've covered, Tom wants somebody to take hold of it, right? And early return again. It's still November. Kobe's taken hold of it. Which has been really fun to see. And it's, another Iowa native in the Iowa, wrestling starting lineup, which is just not something that we see a ton. And it's really cool when it happens.
Yeah. Seeing more of it though.
Yeah. Between, Kobe, Nelson Brands, Brody Teskey, I guess for one match, Colin Shriver. Yep. He's getting time. That's another little lineup battle there.
Drake last year.
Who else? That might be it right now. Caleb Rachi's getting some matches.
Wofford.
There's a lot more Iowa kids in the room than there has been in recent years.
Yeah, kind of plucked everyone from the state last year.
A little bit, yeah. Like good recruiting sweep, I suppose.
Yeah.
Which has been impressive. Wanted to ask you about Kobe. Wanted to ask you about the overall vibe. Cy-Hawks coming up. How do you feel about this upcoming Cy-Hawk matchup? I have my own thoughts, but I'm curious what you think.
I mean, I think you know what I think. But I think Iowa will win by a lot, but we'll see.
Well,
Iowa State's not going to just come in and not wrestle hard. They're gonna give Iowa everything they can handle.
Yeah, and for so many years, like Iowa's dominated the Cyhawk series. Like there was that 1918 matchup in 2018, I think it was like December 2018. But like other than that, like multiple point victories, sometimes mid 30s to single digits. But be honest though, like this Iowa State team, like they might be pretty good, right? Like jury's still out. It's still November. That's the theme here. But
yeah,
like they look pretty good. They look way better than they have in recent
good
years.
so far this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they haven't wrestled.
I mean, they thumped Wisconsin pretty good. Say what you want about Wisconsin, but that lineup has 5 All-Americans.
True. But I don't know. I'm not going to say good. I'm not going to give any good I don't even know what to call it.
You're not going to give them any props.
No.
Hawkeye through and through. I expect.
Yeah, I bleed black and gold. So
I expect absolutely.
And my sister went to Iowa State, and she's a very big Iowa State fan, and we fight.
You know who I saw at Hilton Coliseum not too long ago? Quincy.
Yeah, his girlfriend goes there.
He was sitting there taking in the Iowa State Cal Baptist duel.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Okay, so let me approach the Cyhawk conversation this way. Do you like there seems to be more energy and more juice in the rivalry in recent years? We all know what happened last year with the non-fight confrontation thing at the end of the duel. The 1918 kind of weird duel at Carver where everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for the Hawks, and it was really interesting all the way down to the end.
Was that the one where Gomez threw DeSanto at the end?
Yep, and he had to pin him to win, but DeSanto rolled off his back. And
did Stoll wrestle that one?
Who?
Did Stoll wrestle that one?
Yeah, Stoll came out and wrestled. He beat Gannon Gremmel.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy duel, mate.
Yeah. But the competitive energy and the juice that seems to be there between the two schools. Do you like that?
Yeah, I think it's a lot better. I remember going to Iowa State, Iowa when they were like ranked 1-2, like back in the 2000s, like mid 2000s, maybe late 2000s, like when like 2007 or 2008. I remember we went there for my mom's birthday, and it was like standing room only because it was 1 versus 2, which that's always good for a rivalry when it's a competitive dual meet. Otherwise, it's not much of a rivalry, which it wasn't for a while. But now that, Iowa State's program has definitely gotten better. So
there he is. Look at that. He's giving Iowa State props.
Well, I said they've gotten better. Yeah.
No, that's a fair point. Like
because it's competitive. Like they're not just gonna come in and fall over for them. It's like and Iowa knows that. The brands know that. Everyone knows that. So Iowa will also be ready. But Iowa State has 4 ex-Hawkeyes on their staff. So you think they want to win? They probably want to win. But
absolutely.
Yeah. So they're gonna bring the heat, but it'll be a fun duel.
Yeah.
Iowa will dominate though.
I feel like there's a world where both teams could dominate, and I really hope it's somewhere in the middle because it's more fun. Like it's a lot more fun when they go back and forth and every match means a little bit more. And like last year, if you look at the box score, like Iowa won handily, but like the energy in the building that night was so much fun. And probably because the fans were split 50-50, so it's probably going to be like 95-5 Iowa fans on Sunday because it's in Iowa City. But yeah, like I don't know, man, like there's gonna be a ton of really good matchups. Like that's also, that's something that maybe we haven't seen in this particular dual meet in recent years.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
So if I had to ask for a score prediction, what would it be?
Oh, I gotta do math.
You did math earlier. I
did guesstimation earlier. I did some form of math that I created. I don't know. I think what was the score last year?
23-11, I believe. 22-11 after they docked Iowa a point.
Probably be somewhat similar to that.
And you're still rolling with the Hawks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always will.
I'm with you. I think Iowa will win the duel. I think there's a part of me that thinks Tom's going to pull an okie doke again. He did not list Nelson on the probables last week and then put Nelson in the starting lineup.
Yeah, it was at the duel and I was like 74 And then I was like looking at because they started at 65. So I was like, oh, Kennedy's up first right away. And then I was like, they were lining up for doing handshakes and stuff. And I was like looking out there and I was like, wait, that's Nelson. So I didn't think Nelson was wrestling yet. So then that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah. So I don't know. Gut tells me Tom may do that again. I guess we also will find out at Sunday at 1:30 p.m.
Yeah. Are you going? You're going, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm basically going to be living in Coralville for the next like 4 days.
With World Cup?
No, so that's next week. This week it's the Donnybrook.
Oh, true. Yeah, I'll probably be, maybe. I might be there on Friday.
I was going to say the girls wrestle Thursday, Friday, the boys wrestle Friday, Saturday, and then Cyhawk on Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go get Bluebird for breakfast on Sunday morning.
Will you get Dandelion for breakfast one of the other days?
Maybe. I've been to Dandelion like twice, but Bluebird forever.
Bluebird's good. I kind of converted over to Dandelion went during like the COVID because Dandelion was open and Bluebird was just always closed. So, but Bluebird's definitely like OG. So
yeah,
that's where we used to always go. But
I like it.
Speaking of World Cup, did you watch the game?
I did watch the game. I'm still repping. I mean, it's USA Wrestling, but repping my red, white, and blue. I was driving to Iowa City when they scored the goal. And so I was like, I had it pulled up on my phone, like freaking out, like trying not to like run off the road.
I would have been going like 110.
I think I had it clocked in at like 78. And then I freaked out even worse when they scored the second goal and they called him offsides.
And they didn't even review it. Well, they showed it. He was offsides, but
by like maybe a quarter of an inch or something like that. Like it was bogus. I wanted 2-0. I wanted 2-0 because we had to win it and I wanted insurance, but that's just me.
Yeah, it was a scary last 30 minutes or so.
Yeah. Well, and then stoppage time was 9 minutes and I was like, this sucks.
I know.
Oh, that was terrible. Carter Happel, I appreciate you making some time for us this evening. Guys, that's all we've got today. Appreciate you tuning in, whether you were listening wherever you get your shows or you were tuning in on YouTube again. We'll be back again later this week. Got another show for you guys to get you ready for the Cyhawk duel on Sunday. In the meantime, please rate and review 5 stars, leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter at Cody Goodwin. Follow Carter Happel on Twitter. Are you still the Farter Crapple Twitter handle?
Yep, Carter Happel.
Be sure to give Cornell College's finest assistant wrestling coach a follow if you haven't already. And be sure to subscribe to the Des Moines Register to catch all my stories, mailbags, analysis, and videos. Be sure to subscribe to the Des Moines Register YouTube because we're going to try to keep this up weekly with at least one show, if not more. You can find links to do all of that as well as stories from this past week in the show notes. Carter, got any final words or thoughts before we sign off here?
Nope. Thanks for having me.
Righteous. Go back. Oh, thanks for listening, you guys. We will talk again soon.